بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
ادع إلى سبيل ربك بالحكمة والموعظة الحسنة وجادلهم بالتي هي أحسن إن ربك هو أعلم بمن ضل عن سبيله وهو أعلم بالمهتدين وإن عاقبتم فعاقبوا بمثل ما عوقبتم به ولئن صبرتم لهو خير للصابرين واصبر وما صبرك إلا بالله ولا تحزن عليهم ولا تك في ضيق مما يمكرون إن الله مع الذين اتقوا والذين هم محسنون.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وبعد. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Our topic of discussion as of now is science in Islam. But before going further to the mood of our discussion, I just want to give a reminder here that in dealing with this topic we have to be guided by the glorious Quran and the Sunnah to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Verse number 9 of Surah Al-Isra. Inna hadha al-Qur'an yahdi lillati hiya aqwam. Surely, this glorious Quran will guide you towards perfection. Here we have to understand that the glorious Quran is the final word of Allah, revealed to mankind through the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and it is of eternal message, universal relevance, everlasting punctuality. And the glorious Quran is complemented, detailed, or rather exemplified by the body of teaching of the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which we describe as Sunnah Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And these two, the glorious Quran and the Sunnah, are accorded with infallibility as emphasized by the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in his saying, "Taraktu fikum amrayn lan tadillu ba'di ma tamassaktum bihima, kitab Allahi wa sunnat rasulih." I have left for you two things which guarantees that you will never go astray as long as you uphold them. They are the glorious Quran and the Sunnah Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Therefore, whatever differences of idea among us or disputation among us, we should not promote division or dissension among ourselves. But the basic course for us is to refer it to the glorious Quran and the Sunnah Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Verse 59 of Surah An-Nisa, فَإِن تَنَازَعْتُمْ فِي شَيْءٍ فَرُدُّوهُ إِلَى اللَّهِ وَالرَّسُولِ. If you dispute on certain issue, and then refer it to Allah and the Messenger of Allah, that is the glorious Quran and the Sunnah Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now let us come to the mood of our discussion now. That is science in Islam. Science is defined by many researchers and many writers as orderly and systematic knowledge. It means that science is knowledge itself. So, since we are discussing about science in Islam, I believe that we have to define also what Islam is. So, Islam is deen according to the glorious Quran. Verse number 19 of Surah Al-Imran. Inna deena indallahi al-Islam. Surely the only deen in the sight of Allah is no other than Islam. And verse number 85 of the same chapter of the glorious Quran, Surah Al-Imran, وَمَنْ يَبْتَغِ غَيْرَ الْإِسْلَامِ دِينًا فَلَنْ يُقْبَلَ مِنْهُ وَهُوَ فِي الْآخِرَةِ مِنَ الْخَاسِرِينَ. Whoever adopt other than Islam as his deen will never be acknowledged of him, and he will be among the losers in the hereafter. So, Islam as a deen it is not a mere religion. It is a socio-political system, a composite code, a civilization of which religion is a part. In a full-fledged Islamic community, the head of the Islamic community discharges his political duty in the name of Islam. And this is not religious aspect of Islam, but it is a political aspect of Islam, which is related to political science in Islam. The policeman arrests the criminal in the name of Islam. And this is not a religious aspect of Islam, but it is a social aspect of Islam, or in other words, social science in Islam. In the businessman will carry out his business transaction in the name of Islam. And this is not a religious aspect of Islam, but economic aspect of Islam. So in other words, this is the science of economy in Islam. And of course, everybody perform his prayer in the name of Islam. And this is the religious aspect of Islam. So, in other words, it is the science of religion in Islam. In other words, in other terms, religious science of Islam is theology. And theology is science of God. That is knowledge about God, knowing that science is knowledge. So, theology is science of God, knowledge about God, knowing that God is omniscient. And it is science of revelation also. And the detail of this is under the ambit of the science of fiqh, or science of Islamic jurisprudence. The glorious Quran, being the constitution of Islam, contains or comprehends all branches of science. Science of technology, science of astronomy, science of medicine or medical science, science of botany, and science of biology and etc. Knowing that the glorious Quran is not only a book of fiqh or a book of anything, but it is a book of science, comprising all branches of science. This verse number 89 of Surah An-Nahl, يقول الله تعالى: ونزلنا عليك الكتاب تبيانا لكل شيء وهدى ورحمة وبشرى للمسلمين. O Muhammad, we have given you this book, that is the glorious Quran. We have revealed to you this book, the glorious Quran, تبيانا لكل شيء, explaining everything. It is a book of science explaining everything. And it is a perfect guidance for mankind. And it is a blessing or grace from Allah. And of course, a happy tidings for the Muslims. The glorious Quran is revealed to mankind with twofold purposes. The first is that anyone who complies with the teaching of the Quran and put them into practical life will be entitled to the bliss or to the Jannah in the hereafter. And the second fold is that the glorious Quran had unfolded to us the phenomenal book of nature so that man can carry out scientific research. And there is no reason for man, there is no basis for man not to carry out scientific research, because researching or seeking knowledge is mandatory for every Muslim. As the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, "Talabul ilmi faridatun ala kulli Muslim." Seeking knowledge, seeking science is mandatory or something obligatory for every Muslim, whether male or female. So, the glorious Quran explains everything. And no reason for man not to carry out scientific research, because God had facilitated him in carrying out this job. Yes, everything on the earth surrounding man have been created by God for the sake of man. It means to say that everything on the earth have been put by God under the discretion of man, under the dominion of man. verse 29 of Surah Al-Baqarah. يقول الله سبحانه وتعالى هو الذي خلق لكم ما في الأرض جميعا. It is He, that is Allah, who had created for you everything on the earth. Yes, for the sake of man. And then another verse, verse number 71 of Surah Yasin. يقول الله تعالى أولم يروا أنا خلقنا لهم مما عملت أيدينا أنعاما فهم لها مالكون وذللناها لهم فمنها ركوبهم ومنها يأكلون ولهم فيها منافع ومشارب أفلا يشكرون. Why man do not analyze and do not observe, do not take into account how these animals, these cattle have been made for them. The cattle have been created by God by His own hand. So these animals have been put by God under the discretion of man. Some of these animals have been made transportation for men. Some of these animals have been slaughtered by man for food. And some of these animals are providing milk for men. And there are some benefit, what man can benefit from the animals. Afala yashkurun. Why do man do not express their gratitude, be grateful to Allah for this favor of Allah? Now I believe that we have to talk now regarding science of technology. There is a specific chapter in the glorious Quran, or a specific surah known as Surah Al-Hadid, chapter of iron. And verse 25 of the same chapter goes like this: وَأَنزَلْنَا الْحَدِيدَ فِيهِ بَأْسٌ شَدِيدٌ وَمَنَافِعُ لِلنَّاسِ. We have sent down the iron. We have rebuilt the iron. And this iron is very powerful and very beneficial to man. There are two characteristics of this iron presented by this verse to man. That is, فِيهِ بَأْسٌ شَدِيدٌ, very powerful. And the second is وَمَنَافِعُ لِلنَّاسِ, very beneficial to man. So it means to say that this verse presenting to man this iron, and it depends upon man to develop this iron for making within the characteristic of this iron as very powerful to produce or to invent some instrument of powerful instrument of war, or element of war. And at the same time, man can develop the iron also for inventing or producing some implement or some instrument of peace, such as tractor for cultivation of his land. And this is more on agricultural development. And then iron also can be exploited by man for infrastructure development, construction of road, construction of buildings, and construction of anything such as hospitals and etc. All of these are constructed out of iron. And then, Alhamdulillah, we can see nowadays, man had been successful in inventing a newfangled technological devices for information. That is IT, information technology. And this has been alluded by the glorious Quran and the Sunnah to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This information technology, this is for communication, had alluded and hinted by the glorious Quran in verse number 73 of Surah Sabah. يقول الله تعالى وَيَقْذِفُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ مِنْ مَكَانٍ بَعِيدٍ. They disseminate the ghaib, that is the unseen information, min makanin ba'id, from a far distance. Nowadays, man can communicate anyone where everywhere in the corner of this globe, communicated face to face through Zoom. They can converse directly through Zoom. And this is newfangled devices on technical devices for communication. And then another thing here is for transportation. These vehicles for transportation, like land transportation, or ship transportation, and aircraft, are made of iron. And this is the result of the scientific research of men, that is in the aspect of transportation or communication. Another branch of science in the Glorious Quran is medical science or science of medicine. There is a special chapter of the Quran known as chapter of honeybee. And verse number 68 of this chapter of the Quran goes like this. وَأَوْحَى رَبُّكَ إِلَى النَّخْلِ أَنِ اتَّخِذِي مِنَ الْجِبَالِ بُيُوتًا وَمِنَ الشَّجَرِ وَمِمَّا يَعْرِشُونَ ثُمَّ كُلِي مِنْ كُلِّ الثَّمَرَاتِ فَاسْلُكِي سُبُلَ رَبِّكِ ذُلُلًا يَخْرُجُ مِنْ بُطُونِهَا شَرَابٌ مُخْتَلِفٌ أَلْوَانُهُ فِيهِ شِفَاءٌ لِلنَّاسِ. صدق الله العظيم. The honeybee had been inspired by God or directed by God to build her cells on mountains, on the trees, and on the habitation of man. And the honeybee had been further instructed or inspired or directed by God to suck juice from diverse or different flowers and fruits. So this mixed juice extracted from different flowers and different fruits had been processed by God in the body of the honeybee. The body of the honeybee became laboratory for this procession of this mixed herbal fruit. So the outcome here is يَخْرُجُ مِنْ بُطُونِهَا شَرَابٌ مُخْتَلِفٌ أَلْوَانُهُ. That it comes out from the body of the honeybee a sort of drink that is a very sweet drink, that is honey, and it is an herbal drink that even though very sweet, according to some commentators of the Glorious Quran, it has been proven that if it is pure honey without any mixture, and it will cure even diabetic. Yes. Another herbal fruit presented by the Glorious Quran to man is the dates. In verse number 25 of Surah Maryam, when Maryam had delivered Jesus Christ at a trunk of a palm tree, so because Maryam was feeling a pain of childbirth, so she has been pacified by a voice from beneath her. The verse goes like this. يقول الله سبحانه وتعالى وناداها من تحتها ألا تحزني قد جعل ربك تحتك سريا وهزي إليك بجزء النخلة تساقط عليك رطبا جنيا. صدق الله العظيم. A voice from beneath her called to Maryam. He said, "Oh Maryam, don't be worried, because Allah had provided for you rivulet from beneath of you. And you have to shake the palm tree towards you, so that it will fall unto you a very fresh and ripe dates." Now the question here, according to the research of science, the question here is why dates have been chosen by Allah for this mother who had just newly given birth to a child. Why not other kind of fruit? Why not mango, for example? Why not apple? Why not dates? Why not grapes? But only dates. And it has been analyzed, or it has been discovered by the researchers of science that these dates is containing some herbal medicine. Yes. If a mother from the start of her conception through the period of her pregnancy has to frequently take dates, and inshallah during her birth of her child, she will feel easiness for giving the birth. Another verse of the glorious Quran presenting herbal medicine to man is verse number 4 of Surah Al-Ra'd. يقول الله سبحانه وتعالى: وفي الأرض قطع متجاورات وجنات من أعناب وزرع ونخيل صنوان وغير صنوان يسقى من ماء واحد ونفضل بعضها على بعض في الأكل الآية. In a very small tract of land, there grows a variety of fruit-bearing trees. Yes. And these fruit-bearing trees are growing from one root only, on the same root, and they are being watered by the same water. But the result here is there are variety of their fruits. There are the sours, there are the sweet, and there are some bitters also. And this message of this verse is presented to man, the science and art of so-called narcotic. And of course, collecting from leaves of trees. It has been said that these papaya leaves, guava leaves, is very effective herbal medicine for some certain kind of sickness. Now let us come to the science of astronomy. I believe that we have to go direct to the landing on the moon by the astronomer known as Armstrong. It has been alluded or hinted by the glorious Quran that there is no impossibility for man to land on the moon. That like what had been experienced by Armstrong. Verse number 18 of Surah Al-Inshiqaq. يقول الله تعالى: والقمر إذا اتسق لتركبن طبقا عن طبق. By the moon, if it is full moon, and then you go for journey to the space, طبقا عن طبق is stage by stage. And this has been experienced by the astronaut. Armstrong had been going with a series of Apollos, and it was Apollo number 14 that enabled Armstrong to land over the moon. And this has been alluded and it has been hinted by the glorious Quran that there is no impossibility for man to conquer the space. Verse 33 of Surah Al-Rahman. يقول الله سبحانه وتعالى: يا معشر الجن والإنس إن استطعتم أن تنفذوا من أقطار السماوات والأرض فانفذوا لا تنفذون إلا بسلطان. O assemble of jinn and men, if you can afford to penetrate through the layers of the heaven and the earth, you may do so, but you cannot do so unless by sultan. Sultan means knowledge, and knowledge is science, is knowledge, yes. So, this has been experienced by Armstrong. Another presentation in the Quran regarding science of astronomy is the glorious Quran is very explicit that these heavens are composed of 7 layers. الذي خلق 7 سماوات طباقا, verse number 3 of Surah Al-Mulk. Allah had created this heaven, 7 layers of the heaven. And this has been proven by Armstrong. And of course, before it has been proven by Armstrong, the adversaries of the glorious Quran are saying that the Quran is inconsistent with the scientific data. Because they are claiming that this space is endless space. There is no layers of the heaven. Of course, the glorious Quran is very clear. You go to verse 125 of Surah Al-An'am. وَمَنْ يُرِدْ أَنْ يُضِلَّهُ يَجْعَلْ صَدْرَهُ ضَيِّقًا حَرَجًا كَأَنَّمَا يَصَّعَّدُ فِي السَّمَاءِ. If you go high to the space, and then you can find, if you the high, the altitude you go, you can find yourself that it is, you cannot breathe, or you feel constricted in breathing. Why? Because the higher spaces, there is no sufficient oxygen, and that is why the astronauts are preparing some design for breathing, technological design for breathing, if they go high for conquest of space. Another thing here presented by the Gross Quran is, some of these adversaries of the Gross Quran are saying that the Quran is inconsistent. The data of the Quran is inconsistent with the data of scientific data, because it has been stated in the Gross Quran, verse 22 of Surah Al-Baqarah, الَّذِي جَعَلَ لَكُمُ الْأَرْضَ فِرَاشًا. They are saying that the Gross Quran says that this earth is flat. Of course, they are overlooking at what the verses of the Gross Quran, affirming that this earth is round. Verse number 19 of Surah Al-Hijr, يقول الله تعالى وَالْأَرْضَ مَدَدْنَاهَا وَأَلْقَيْنَا فِيهَا رَوَاسِيَ وَأَنبَتْنَا فِيهَا مِنْ كُلِّ شَيْءٍ مَوْزُونٍ. And the earth, we have extended the earth. There is no limitation of extension of the earth according to this verse. And we set firm mountains on it, and we have grown up from the earth all things which are in pair. The extension of this earth, according to this verse, is proven that the earth is round. If you go or journey from here, you go towards west, and the first continent or the first places you can pass over is this Southeast Asia. And then after that, the continent of India. And then after that, the Middle East. And then after that, you go to Europe. And if you further continue your journey westward, and then you can come back to the Philippines through the Pacific Ocean. It means to say that the world is round. Yes. And another verse, yes, presenting that the world, or describing that the earth is round, is verse number 7 of Surah Qaf. يقول الله سبحانه وتعالى وَالْأَرْضَ مَدَدْنَاهَا وَأَلْقَيْنَا فِيهَا رَوَاسِيَ وَأَنبَتْنَا فِيهَا مِنْ كُلِّ زَوْجٍ بَهِيجٍ. We have extended the earth, and we set on it firmly these mountains, and we have grown up from this earth all kinds of growing things which it is in fair. من كل زوج بهيج in fair. Another allegations of the adversaries of Islam here is that they said, we do not know which one is created first. Is it the earth or the heaven? Because there are some verses that explaining first the earth and then the heaven. And another verse also are mentioning first the heaven before the earth. So which one is being created first? For example, the verse number 29 of Surah Al-Baqarah. يقول الله سبحانه وتعالى هو الذي خلق لكم ما في الأرض جميعا. He mentioned first the earth, that is the earth, and then ثم استوى إلى السماء, and then after that it mentioned the heaven. And then in verse number 4 of Surah Al-Taha, تَنْزِيلًا مِمَّنْ خَلَقَ الْأَرْضَ وَالسَّمَاوَاتِ الْعُلَى. It's very clear that this verse mentioned first the earth and then the heaven. However, they said in Surah Nazi'at, يقول الله تعالى, verse number 27 up to verse number 30 of Surah Nazi'at, أَأَنْتُمْ أَشَدُّ خَلْقًا أَمِ السَّمَاءُ بَنَاهَا رَفَعَ سَمْكَهَا فَسَوَّاهَا وَأَغْطَشَ لَيْلَهَا وَأَخْرَجَ ضُحَاهَا وَالْأَرْضَ بَعْدَ ذَلِكَ دَحَاهَا. Are you more difficult to be created or the heaven? The heaven have been raised up in as a canopy and ordered in complete or in structure of excellent instruction. And وَأَغْطَشَ لَيْلَهَا, and then the night is being darkened. وَأَخْرَجَ ضُحَاهَا, and the dawn has been brought up as a light. وَالْأَرْضَ بَعْدَ ذَلِكَ دَحَاهَا, and after that, the earth has been made expansive. Yes. You know, the answer to this question is found in the glorious Quran. It has been answered by the glorious Quran itself. You go to verse number 30 of Surah Al-Anbiya. أَوَلَمْ يَرَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا أَنَّ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضَ كَانَتَا رَتْقًا فَفَتَقْنَاهُمَا وَجَعَلْنَا مِنَ الْمَاءِ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ حَيٍّ أَفَلَا يُؤْمِنُونَ. Why do these unbelievers or the kafirin they do not see that the earth and the heavens and the earth have been made as one unit of creation. One unit of creation. It means they have been created at once. And after that, we globe them as under. It means to say they have been separated. And this is, I believe that this is the Big Bang, the so-called Big Bang, because they have been separated from each other. It means to say that the creation of the earth and the heaven have been created once. They have been created as one unit of creation. Yes. And then there is a presentation of this verse also, the scientific information here. وَجَعَلْنَا مِنَ الْمَاءِ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ حَيٍّ. And we made a source of life. This water is the source of life. Without water, there is no life. Yes. Another presentation of the Quran regarding this astronomic science of astronomy is this sun. According to scientific data previously, they do not believe. They do not believe in the presentation of the verse of the Quran that the sun and the moon are traveling. Yes. They say that the sun is stationary. And it is very clear in Surah Yasin. Verse 38 of Surah Yasin. وَالشَّمْسُ تَجْرِي لِمُسْتَقَرٍّ لَهَا ذَلِكَ تَقْدِيرُ الْعَزِيزِ الْعَلِيمِ. And the sun is running or moving within each orbit. Yes. ذَلِكَ تَقْدِيرُ الْعَزِيزِ الْعَلِيمِ. This is a decree of the most exalted God in might and the all-knowing God. And then in another verse of the glorious Quran, verse number 2 of Surah Al-Ra'd, وَسَخَّرَ الشَّمْسَ وَالْقَمَرَ كُلٌّ يَجْرِي لِأَجَلٍ مُسَمًّى. And it has been directed, God has directed the moon and the sun, and both of the moon and the sun are running accordingly. So another presentation of the Quran here regarding the scientific knowledge is regarding the heaven. Verse number 2 of Surah Al-Ra'd. يقول الله تعالى الله الذي رفع السماوات بغير عمد ترونها. It is Allah who had raised the heavens without any pillar which you can see. It means that this verse of the Quran, either the heaven is having pillar, but we cannot see it, or without pillar at all. But the second interpretation have been chosen by many of the commentators of the Quran, that the heaven is having a pillar, but we cannot see. Not unlike the pillar of this building, that we can see the pillar of this building is cement, made of cement. Pillar of the heaven is the gravity, yes. It could not fall down because of the gravity, so we cannot see this pillar of the heaven. Yes. I think my last point in this occasion is biological. Let us go to biological science. That is science of biology. This verse of the Quran is presenting to man, or reminding man, or drawing the attention of man towards the origin of his creation. You go to Surah Al-Mu'minun, starting verse number 12. يقول الله تعالى ولقد خلقنا الإنسان من سلالة من طين ثم جعلناه نطفة في قرار مكين ثم خلقنا النطفة علقة فخلقنا العلقة مضغة فخلقنا المضغة عظاما فكسونا العظام لحما ثم أنشأناه خلقا آخر فتبارك الله أحسن الخالقين. We have created the origin of man. The origin of man is from the quintessence of clay. All of us are being created from the soil, from the clay. Yes. And then these quintessence of clay have been made a drop of sperm. And this drop of sperm have been placed in the womb of the mother. And this drop of sperm is made, it's been made as a congealed blood, clot of blood. And this clot of blood had been made again as a foetus or so-called, yes, a foetus. And then this foetus has been created, or it has been made at bone. And this bone has been clothed by flesh. And then after that, this bone being clothed by, loved by flesh, became another shape of creature, that is man. The man, the created man, the handsome man or a pretty woman. فَتَبَارَكَ اللَّهُ أَحْسَنُ الْخَالِقِينَ. And this process is within the period of 6 months, either 6 months or 9 months. Yes. And because the period of conception and pregnancy is sometimes 6 months, sometimes 9 months. Yes. And of course, man is reminded that this is not the end of your destiny. This is not your final destiny. Because after being created in this world as a young, as a handsome creator, and then you have to remember that you will face death. The continuation of this verse, ثُمَّ إِنَّكُمْ بَعْدَ ذَلِكَ لَمَيِّتُونَ. Oh man, you have to remember that after this creation, you have been created as a man, and you will be died. And then after that, ثُمَّ إِنَّكُمْ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ تُبْعَثُونَ. And in the hereafter, in the day of resurrection, you will be presented to the Lord of universe. I think up to it only at this time. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.